Sarah Mitchell had been awake for 72 hours straight. The dark circles under her eyes told the story of a first-time mother pushed to her absolute limits. Her 6-month-old son, Liam, had been crying non-stop for 3 days, and nothing she did seemed to help. She'd tried everything: feeding, burping, changing diapers, checking his temperature, calling the pediatrician twice, even singing every lullaby she could remember from her own childhood. Nothing worked. The doctor assured her that sometimes babies just go through difficult phases, but those words offered little comfort when you're running on empty and your baby's cries are echoing through your exhausted mind. If you want to see what happens next, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Trust me, you won't want to miss this incredible moment. It was a Thursday afternoon when everything changed. Sarah sat on her living room couch, bouncing Liam gently in her arms as tears streamed down both their faces. She felt like the worst mother in the world. How could she not figure out what her own baby needed? Her husband, Mark, was away on a business trip, and her mother lived 3 states away. She'd never felt more alone in her entire life. That's when she heard a small whimpering sound coming from behind the couch. Sarah had almost forgotten about the newest member of their family. 2 weeks earlier, Mark had surprised her with a golden retriever puppy, thinking it might bring some joy into their home. They'd named him Bailey, and he'd been an energetic, playful addition to their lives. But since Liam's crying had started, Sarah had barely paid attention to the little dog. Her neighbor had been kind enough to take him for walks and make sure he was fed, but Sarah felt guilty about neglecting him too. Bailey slowly emerged from behind the couch, his ears pressed back against his head. The 8-week-old puppy looked concerned, his big brown eyes moving between Sarah's tear-stained face and the wailing baby in her arms. Sarah watched as Bailey approached cautiously, his little tail tucked between his legs. She'd read somewhere that dogs can sense human emotions, and in that moment she believed it completely. What happened next would change everything. Bailey didn't jump or bark or act playful like he normally did. Instead, he sat down right in front of Sarah, looked up at crying Liam, and let out the gentlest, most tender whimper she'd ever heard. It wasn't a bark or a howl. It was almost like the puppy was trying to communicate with the baby in his own language. Sarah watched in amazement as Bailey stood up on his hind legs, placing his small paws on the edge of the couch, stretching his neck to get closer to Liam. Then something miraculous happened. Liam's crying began to soften. Not stop completely, but definitely decrease in volume. The baby's eyes, which had been squeezed shut in distress, slowly opened. Liam turned his head toward the source of the new sound, his tiny face still scrunched up but showing hints of curiosity. Bailey seemed to sense the shift. The puppy carefully climbed onto the couch, moving slowly and deliberately, as if he understood he needed to be gentle. Bailey positioned himself right next to Liam, and then did something that made Sarah's heart skip a beat. The puppy very gently placed his paw on Liam's tiny hand. Before we continue our story, let's take just 5 seconds. If this story is touching your heart, please press the like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay with us because many more beautiful stories are coming. Thank you, my dear friend. Now, Let us continue. The crying stopped, just like that. After 72 hours of non-stop tears, Liam became completely quiet. The baby stared at Bailey with wide eyes, his little fingers instinctively wrapping around the puppy's paw. Bailey responded by leaning in closer and giving Liam the softest, most delicate lick on his forehead. Sarah couldn't believe what she was seeing. She remained perfectly still, afraid that any movement might break the spell. Liam, who moments ago had been inconsolable, began to make cooing sounds. His face, which had been red and contorted with distress, slowly relaxed into an expression of wonder and peace. Bailey seemed to understand his role perfectly. The puppy lay down next to Liam, pressing his warm, fluffy body against the baby's side. He kept his paw on Liam's hand and rested his head near the baby's feet. Then Bailey began to make a low, rhythmic humming sound, almost like a purr. It wasn't something Sarah had ever heard a dog do before. It was as if Bailey was trying to soothe Liam in every way he could. For the first time in 3 days, Sarah felt her shoulders relax. She carefully adjusted her position on the couch, making sure both Liam and Bailey were comfortable and safe. The baby's eyes were starting to droop, his tiny fist still clutching Bailey's paw. The puppy didn't move a muscle, maintaining his position as if he understood how important this moment was. Minutes passed in beautiful silence. Sarah watched as Liam's breathing became steady and deep. The baby was actually falling asleep, something that had seemed impossible just an hour ago. Bailey's eyes were also closing, but the puppy seemed determined to stay awake, occasionally opening one eye to check on Liam. Sarah reached for her phone with trembling hands. She had to capture this moment, not just for herself, but because she knew that someday, when Liam was older, he'd want to see this. She took several photos of the baby and puppy lying together, their bond already so evident despite knowing each other for such a short time. As she watched them, Sarah felt tears rolling down her cheeks again, but this time they weren't tears of exhaustion or frustration. They were tears of relief, gratitude, and overwhelming love. She thought about how she'd felt like a failure as a mother just an hour ago, and now she was witnessing something that reminded her that sometimes help comes from the most unexpected places. Liam slept for 4 hours straight that afternoon. Bailey didn't leave his side once. The puppy remained in his protective position, occasionally shifting slightly, but never disturbing the baby. Sarah used that time to take a shower, eat a proper meal, and call Mark to tell him about the incredible thing that had just happened. Her husband could hardly believe it. When Liam finally woke up, he was a different baby. He was calm, alert, and even gave Sarah his first real smile. She fed him, changed him, and played with him, and there were no tears. Bailey stayed nearby, watching over them like a tiny guardian angel with floppy ears and a wagging tail. From that day forward, Bailey and Liam became inseparable. Whenever Liam started to fuss, Bailey would immediately appear at his side, offering comfort in his own special way. Sarah learned that the bond between children and animals could be powerful and healing.
She also learned that sometimes the best medicine isn't found in a bottle or prescribed by a doctor. Sometimes it's found in the unconditional love of a faithful friend.
Sarah's mother visited the following week, and when she heard the story, she shared something that gave Sarah chills. She told her that when Sarah was a baby, she'd had a similar experience with their family dog, a collie named Rusty. Apparently, Sarah had been a colicky baby who cried constantly until Rusty had curled up next to her crib one night. From that moment on, Sarah had slept peacefully whenever the dog was near. The incident taught Sarah important lessons about patience, trust, and the mysterious ways that love can manifest itself. She'd been so focused on being the perfect mother, on having all the answers, that she'd forgotten that raising a child really does take a village, or in this case, a puppy. Bailey had shown her that instinct and compassion don't require years of experience or medical degrees. Sometimes they just require a pure heart and the willingness to be present for someone who needs you. As the months passed, Sarah documented Bailey and Liam's friendship. She captured photos of Bailey learning to walk alongside Liam's first crawling attempts. She recorded videos of the puppy bringing toys to the baby, carefully selected from his own collection. She watched as they grew together, two young souls navigating the world with the built-in security of knowing they had each other. The story of Bailey and Liam spread through Sarah's neighborhood and then through her online community. Other parents reached out to share similar stories of how family pets had helped their children through difficult times. Sarah realized that what she'd experienced wasn't just a one-time miracle. It was evidence of something deeper, the profound connection between humans and animals that has existed for thousands of years. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel for more amazing true stories, and let us know in the comments if you've ever experienced a special bond between a pet and a child. Your support means everything to us, and we can't wait to share more incredible stories with you. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss our next video.